The Bucks punter last game was awful. I don't know. I don't know if you picked up on that. He had two punts that came off the side of his foot, and then one that he almost like skipped up the field like it was a college punter who was a walk on. And I'm sorry if you hear any of the background noise. I got the landscaping crew out there. They're fixing up this place a little bit, so.
When I come to your city, I'm a new score. Broke your high score soon as I step through the door. Tryna stack my paper up like a bookstore. Money kissing each other like a rock and roll tour. When I come to your city, I'm a new score. Broke your high score soon as I step through the door. Tryna stack my paper up like a bookstore. Money kissing each other like a rock and roll.
Hey, Tyler.
Hey, Piet.
What's going on? Welcome to the New Score Podcast. My name is Pat. This is my co-host, TYG, Tyler Pratt. Tyler, how we be doing?
Oh, we be doing. Just shot a slightly to, no, definitely below average round. Played Sunset. It's a fun course, though. You know what I did last night? No, yes, yesterday. I was looking on Golf Pass. It's one of those apps. I'm sure you know what it is. One of those apps where you can just see like what the hot deals are for courses around you and whatnot. There's a couple of them like Supreme Golf, but I was on, I think it's called Golf Now actually. And I was on Golf Now. I saw Sunset, and it was like $35 around for 18, which is normally probably at least 45 to 50 on the weekends. I also saw the Golf Pass or Golf Now Plus, whatever it was. It was like the thing you pay $100 a year for, but it gets you all your convenience fees waived, which would have been for a foursome on there. It was like $14. So it was like $350 a person in convenience fees, and they give you like credits and other shit throughout the year that'll easily make up for that $100 that you spend. So I thought that was a no brainer. So I copped that, booked the round, decent round. It was a beautiful day here, mid 70s, clear skies. So, and now we're going to talk some football. Couldn't be a better Saturday.
Can't beat it. We got college football on. We got Georgia, Alabama here in a couple hours. Can't wait for that. But right now, it's time to dive into this Week 4 NFL preview and lay out our big juicy bets. We got 6 juicers in the juice pack this week, Tyler, to reveal.
Juicers.
I can't wait to get into it. Not only that, we're just going to kind of go through the whole slate in general. You know, not go too into detail. We'll save that for the recap next week, but definitely got to go over and talk about all these games in this Week 4 slate. So let's start it out with a game that I have a big juicy bet on this week. That is the Pittsburgh Steelers going to Indianapolis. Indianapolis is getting 2 at home. By the way, as always, these are all odds lines courtesy of DraftKings. So everything that we put out is based off of DK for those of you at home watching. As I said, Colts are getting 2 at home. Over under is 40. I'm going to do something this week, and I'm just going to continue riding this train of Chris Boswell over a field goal and a half. It's paid off every game so far. I mean, I think week 1 he hit 5 of them. But Chris Boswell is due to kick 2 field goals in this game. Paying for it a little bit now. It's minus 150. And it has been going for minus 110, minus 115. So you're paying for it a little bit. The books have caught on. But either way, this is money in the bank, folks, to me. Chris Boswell, over 1.5 field goals. I know Tyler has rode with the Pittsburgh Steelers every week this season, and it's paid off for him. I'm riding the Boz train. Another week, give me that. And then I'm also intrigued by this under. under 40. I don't see a ton of points getting scored in this game. I see Steelers doing what they do, ball control, running the ball, taking the opportunities when they're given to them, throwing the ball. And the Colts, I mean, we're coming off back-to-back weeks of Anthony Richardson making some very poor decisions. So do they take the ball out of his hands a little this week against this ferocious Steelers defense and rely on the run game more? Again, ball control, which translates to less points. So that's what I'm looking for in this game this week. I'm looking for the Colts to maybe dial it back, take it off of Anthony Richardson's hands against that Steelers defense that can make life hell for you, especially as a young quarterback who's been struggling with his accuracy, struggling with his decision making. Just put it in Jonathan Taylor's hands, run the clock, run the ball. We know that's what the Steelers are going to do, and they're going to play defense. So if you want to take the Boswell over 1.5 and then maybe tease that over under to 45, 43, 42, or if you trust 40, I like 40. I might be rolling with 40, but big juicy bet number one for me is Chris Boswell over 1.5 field goals. Tyler, what do you got on this one?
I actually was going to pass on this originally. I didn't have too much on it. I was kind of split down the middle because I've been riding with Pittsburgh, as you mentioned, every week. They're 3-0 for me against the spread so far this year, but going on the road, that defensive front up against probably their best challenge as far as an offensive line goes since week 1 against Atlanta. Tomlin on the road as a favorite is just as good as at home as a dog, and he's really good at home as a dog, which means on the road as a favorite, not that great. I think this is a good spot for the Colts at +2, and I think that they can take advantage up the middle because the Steelers' defense has been great. We know what Watt and those boys can do, but the Colts can run the ball, and I think that they can. This is a good spot for them to do it. Take the pressure, as you said, off of Richardson. You don't want to drop back 25 times against the Steelers defense. If you can, 15 to 18 is that range for Richardson. You're hoping he doesn't have to throw the ball 20 plus times. So give me on this one Indy +2. Not a juicy bet, but I did throw a little something on Indy +2. I like this spot.
I think I'd have to agree with you. And from everything that I've heard this week, this is the time. This would be the time to fade Pittsburgh, and this would be the time to take Indy. Indy is a much needed win. I just don't trust it. I don't trust taking the side on this one. So to me, once again, if anything, it would be the under. But give me Chris Boswell, 2 field goals all day. And we're going to keep this train rolling. Next game, Denver Broncos, New York Jets. Broncos are getting 8 on the road after they played phenomenal in Tampa last week. Bo Nix looked incredible out there, making plays, throwing the ball on the run. He was doing it all. The Denver defense looks really good as well. This is a little interesting game. This is the Nate Hackett revenge game. Sean Payton versus Nate Hackett. So that adds a little bit of fuel to the fire. I don't have any strong feelings on this one, but I know you do. Tyler, take it away.
Yeah, I actually have a little bit on this one. I won't try to get too deep into it, but I liked what I saw from Knicks last week against Tampa. I know that they were banged up, but I liked what I saw. The kid can move. When you give him time to throw the ball, he can make the reads. He's able to evade pressure with his feet. The run game wasn't effective last week for Denver. Tyler, people would think it's called Batty, but it's actually Bidet, spelled B-A-D-I-E. It's Bidet. He broke off a big run late. Otherwise, they didn't really get much going in the run game last week against Tampa, but they at least kept doing it to set up the play action, which is what they like to do. I noticed Denver really wants to get that play action in there. They want to still be a threat to run the ball, even though they haven't been able to do it well. Bidet did it well last week, broke off a big one. And Williams and McLaughlin, they combined 10 carries for 19 yards, so they really didn't do shit last week. The Broncos are looking to throw short, moderate passes and take shots off of play action. I think that they generated good pressure last week. Riley Moss, who's their other corner across from Surtain, he's actually been playing well. He's ranked in the top 25 in PFF, which is a lot higher than Surtain right now, who's actually way down to 86th, which is, we know he's one of the better corners in the league. But the fact that right now he's graded as an 86 and their defense is playing the way that they're playing, could be a scary duo. So even with Denver being up, last week they were up 20-7 at half. They weren't abandoning the pass game. It's just not a part of what Sean Payton looks like he wants to do. To be fair, I don't think that they could because their run game wasn't very efficient. So I really like Denver at this one at +8. The thing is that hurts a lot at Singleton, and you touched on it. Actually, you sent us that text about him tearing his ACL. He's out for the year. So I think that's a big hit to their defense. But with the Jets also, as far as injuries go, Moses is out, and I believe CJ Mosley is out. So they have that rookie 11th overall pick starting at right tackle, but their O-line has played well. Rodgers has been sharp this year. He's looked good ever since that first game back, which I don't think he really played all that bad. He just wasn't. It was just a weird game. His first game back, kind of like Kirk Cousins in his first game back, right? So that's basically what I saw from Denver, though. I think that the keys of this game, the Jets going to have to control the line of scrimmage. Denver's front seven is going to need to have a big game. Their secondary has been good. Last week, Baker threw it 33 times. Godwin was the leading receiver at 53. When they played Pittsburgh didn't have a 40-yard receiver. I know it's the Steelers. The game flow was slow, but it's still impressive. Lockett had 70 plus against them. I believe it was week 1. But DK and Smith and Jigba only combined for 50. So their D-backs have played well. So the Jets had, like, Garrett Wilson hasn't gotten going yet this year. I know Lazard's had a few touchdowns, but it's not like he's gotten 80 to 100 yards. Mike Williams is kind of just getting back in the swing of things. So I don't see the Jets doing it through the air. I see them trying to run the ball and take advantage on the ground, control the line of scrimmage, which is where Denver's going to have to step up. So, let me see. Because I want to throw some props in on this one. Breece Hall's been getting like 15 carries a game. I think he gets closer to 20 here, and 60 yards is a safe play for him. But last night I got him at 80 plus. So 80 plus rush yards for him was at +160. So I like those odds. The matchup for Mike Williams, if he can get Moss, because Riley Moss is a little bit smaller corner. He's very athletic. But Mike Williams, there's a big size mismatch there. So if he can get that matchup, even at 40 plus yards for Mike Williams, that's at +160. But if you're not confident in him getting 40, you can take 25 plus and it's still -175, which isn't great, but it's only 25 yards if you want to put some props together. Bo Nix, aka Mo Mix. Mo. So he's been his first 3 games of his career, right? He's had 25 yards, 35 yards, 47 rushing yards, 25 against the Steelers. DraftKings has him at -25 for 25 plus rushing. So I added that in there. I think that's a good play, especially against this Jets defense. Because they're probably going to generate pressure and he's going to escape and run it up the field. So I like him for 25 plus. Now, to the spread, which I already kind of like at +8. The thing is, I don't want to let the Jets dismantling of the Patriots like sway me too much from what they did their first 2 weeks. They got smoked by the Niners, and they didn't look great against the Titans. Will Levis made that game a lot closer than it really should have been, or maybe let it slip away and it should have been a closer game, I should say. The Broncos, their losses are to the Steelers 3-0, Seahawks 3-0, and then they obviously beat Tampa last week. I don't see them being able to do too much offensively in this one, but I like Sean Payton's ability to scheme. So I don't hate the Broncos at all at +8. I like them there. I mean, it's a lot of points. We talk about 6 is a key number. 8's a lot in this league, and I know that like the Patriots are like 10.5, which is crazy, but 8's a lot. So I also don't hate the under. Broncos totals have been at 46, 19, and 33. Jets totals last 2 games, not counting the Niners. That was a smoke session, a little hot box, if you will. So 84% of the tickets in this one were on the Jets. I think you get this number while you can. I don't think it gets any higher than 8. It definitely is not going to get higher than 8. So if you can see the 8 now, take it before it goes. So I know I just went on like a 10-minute rant there about this game when I said I didn't want to get too deep into detail, but I did. My juicy bet after all that, all said and done, the juicy bet here is Denver slight T, same game parlay to +11.5, under 44. Book it.
To add to your point, going back to Denver secondary, Surtain, I think you said it ranked like 85th or 86th in PFF. Locked up DK. Then he locked up Pickens. And then he held Mike Evans to, I think, like 3 catches for 15 yards or some shit like that. Surtain's he's been an animal. And they're not giving up anything. Like you said, Wilson hasn't gotten going. So maybe Alan Lazard is reliable again. And I'm looking, that's why, because you went in on props, Lazard right now, anytime touchdowns, +230. We saw Rodgers go to him right away in that game last week on Thursday night in the red zone. I think Lazard's anytime, that's pretty good. +230, you can get that at. And then looking at Denver's side of things, just because I don't love betting this game, so I probably will go props on this. You can get Jaleel McLaughlin anytime touchdown for +550. And then also their leading rusher last week, Tyler Beatty, who we were talking about, really the only guy that they've gotten going in the run game was that game last week in Tampa. You can get him for +700 anytime. So, I mean, if he takes over the backfield role and, we just don't know about it yet, that's pretty good value there for the leading rusher potentially. But let's move on to the next guy. I'm going to keep going with the big juicy bets, and then we'll dive into the other games. Philadelphia Eagles going to Tampa this week. Right now, the Bucs are 1-point dogs at home, over under 42. My big juicy bet. Give me that under. Give me under 42 in this game. I love it. The Eagles offense just looks all out of whack without A.J. Brown. And it's not going to be – I know he's not the only injury that they're dealing with at this point in that receiving core. It's going to be a lot of Saquon Barkley in this game. They're going to have to run the ball. And I don't expect, like these deep explosive plays for Philadelphia like we're used to seeing, just because their receiving core is so banged up right now. Dallas Goedert, I mean, this is – if you want to get into props for this game, I would be all over Dallas Goedert because we saw what he did last week in New Orleans, and he really becomes like the center of that passing game in Philly. When the going gets tough and they need a conversion, it's been Dallas Goedert for this team. So I love any Dallas Goedert prop in this game, but my big juicy bet is under 42.
Yeah, no, I thought about the under as well. I couldn't get there on it. I do actually have a little bit on this one, not as much as I had on the last one, but I got a little bit on this one. So this game is a little, because of all the injuries, it can get a little scary. For the Bucs, it's more on the defensive side. A few key guys like Vita Vea, they need him if they want any shot at stopping the run game from the Eagles, even with Lane Johnson out. If they want any shot at stopping the run game, they need Vita Vea, or Barkley's going to go for $120, right? Maybe not that much, but still, he's going to have a lot, right? The Bucs punter last game was awful. I don't know if you picked up on that. He had 2 punts that came off the side of his foot, and then one that he almost like skipped up the field like it was a college punter who was a walk-on. And I'm sorry if you hear any of the background noise. I got the landscaping crew out there. They're fixing up this place a little bit, so apologize if you hear any of that. But either way, that punter was awful, and I think that if he continues that trend, the Eagles can get really good field position often. And I know that with Devontae Smith out, AJ Brown's out. AJ Brown's ruled out. Okay, so he's out. Lane Johnson, is he still questionable?
They have no receivers.
Yeah. So, right, and which is why you like your prop plays on Goddard, which I like too. Any prop that you can get on Goddard, I think, is a good play here. But the Eagles aren't going to need to throw the ball. I think they can just run all over Tampa.
Which makes me like the one under even more.
Exactly. Barkley's lowest total so far this year in the 3 games has been 95 yards. For him to rush for 80 this game is at plus 100. I scooped it. I think maybe even a play on Hurts rushing is not, but I didn't love the odds there. It was like 40 plus rushing yards for Hurts was something like it wasn't even plus. So, but if you want to get a little risky and you're confident, throw a Hurts rushing prop in there, 40, 50 yards. Tampa has not been good at containing the quarterback this year. Another one that I love, a prop actually, which I don't ever really do this, but Baker has had less than 200 yards passing in back-to-back games. The Eagles just held Carr to 160. In the game before that, Kirk Cousins wasn't even at 200 until that very final drive of the game, and then he ended up at like 240 something. So right now they had Baker's over-under as of yesterday at 234.5. I jumped on the under 234.5. If he gets to 200, I don't think it's going to be much more. So I took the Barkley plus 100, Baker under 234.5. There were 0 receiving props for the Eagles, by the way. I checked 2 sports books. DraftKings and FanDuel had 0 receiving props available yesterday for this game, and I don't know if it's changed yet, but I thought that was pretty funny. Vegas is being pretty sneaky. So, from what I saw last week from the Eagles, they dominated that game, and it came down to bad coaching decisions and some bad turnovers from Hurts. I think Hurts cleans up the turnovers. He's a good quarterback in this league. Good quarterbacks clean up that shit. I think he cleans that up. I think Sirianni knows his ass is getting some heat. So I think he stops making stupid decisions for the most part. And they just get points when they need it. I like the Eagles in this one. -1.5 or money line if you want. Fuck it. Throw Baker in there under 234.5 passing. Barkley 80 plus rushing.
It does make me love Goddard's props, but give me the under in this one. And then if I had to take a side, I would take Tampa, and I'm going to get to that later. I do have an underdog parlay for the people that I'm going to share. Very interesting, and I'm going to get to that. The Bucs are in that. But I did put a little something together as we were just going through this. Dallas Goedert, you get him for 50 receiving yards and anytime tutty. That's plus 212. So I love that as well. Just as we're going through that, I put that together.
Well, I was just going to say, to your point, when you said that you would have to disagree, and you're on the Bucs side. If anything, if you had to pick a spread or just pick a side, you were on the Bucs, and that's where I think that I'm going against the grain. There are things that are pointing towards the Bucs being the side here. I think everyone is so focused on Brown and Smith being out, and even with Brown out last week, they were still able to do what they normally do in the air. Part of that was Goddard having a big game, and maybe they key in on Goddard, but someone else got to step up. They traded a third and some change for Jahan Dotson. He's going to be their number 1 target. I think he's capable, but he's got to show up sometime. Why not this week?
Next game at 1:00 slate. Cincinnati Bengals giving up 4.5 at Carolina this week. Andy Dalton, revenge game. Cincinnati needs a win. 0-3. Who would have thought that they were going to be 0-3 looking at those first 3 games? We were just talking about that. But they're in a spot now where they absolutely need a win. Over under is 47. I'm staying the hell away from this one. What do you got?
I am in full agreement with you. I am staying away from this. I think that maybe I'll sprinkle a little something, because if I had to pick a side, I'd pick the Panthers at +4.5. But I don't like it, because you know how desperate Cincinnati's got to be here. They cannot get off to an 0-4 start with the Patriots, Commanders, and Panthers being 3 of those 4 losses. Like, that just can't. I wouldn't be able to fathom it. I maybe if you want to get some touchdown props in this on the Cincinnati side of things, like Jamar Chase or T. Higgins, go for it. Depending on what those odds are, I'd like to see a T. Higgins anytime TD prop. But I'm staying away from this one. If I had to pick a side, I would go Panthers +4.5 and maybe sprinkle Bengals money line in there. But I'm passing here.
One thing I did have down for this one is a little sneaky anytime touchdown, Mike Gesicki for +350. He's been a big target for Burrow this season. We've seen that the emergence of the tight ends, Eric All as well.
I was going to say something interesting about Eric All is like his snap percentage is probably in like the 30s to 40s, but he's getting like 3 or 4 targets a game. So it's like when he is in there and he is playing, like good chance the ball goes his way. So I just thought that was interesting. Sorry.
No, you're good. Divisional matchup, big rivalry. Aaron Jones returning to Green Bay, Lambeau Field. The Vikings are getting 2.5 undefeated going into Green Bay. Right now, it is looking like Jordan Love is going to be out there for Green Bay. So obviously, huge factor in this one. Over under sitting at 44. I've gone back and forth on this game. And I know this is the time where you would fade Minnesota, but that defense just looks so good right now. And then Sam Darnold looks so good. This is that game this week for me that I'd rather just sit back and enjoy than have my money invested on. So I'm staying away. But for the sake of the underdog parlay, I did throw the Minnesota Vikings in on this.
Yeah, I would like to lay a little underdog parlay down at the end of this as well. And this is one team you're going to throw in there. If you like sprinkling on an underdog parlay, or you like doing a little round robin, this is one of the better games to do it with. Especially if you can get. Oh, it doesn't matter what it is right now, but the line is, you can see the money's been moving back and forth on this one all week. I think everyone's split. This is a tough number. It's a tough spot. I'm with Pat. I'm passing on this one. I'm just going to enjoy it. If I had to pick a side, if you can get the Vikings at +3, if you just want to bet on this one to keep yourself engaged, Vikings +3 might be the side here. I'm never a big fan of having, and I say that I'm going to contradict myself here. Never a big fan of having injured quarterbacks and betting on them unless the number to me makes too much sense. But Jordan Love, they might be rushing it back. I was the same way. I was kind of bullish on it last week with Herbert being hurt going into facing the Steelers defense. It just didn't make sense to me. This one is one where I'm like, maybe if I knew Jordan Love was 100% healthy, I might take him because he's good against the blitz. But so were Purdy and CJ Stroud, and neither of them looked good against the Vikings defense. So I'm passing. If I had to pick a side, I would go Vikings.
Right. This is one of those where I think whatever the scenario is, you're going to take the points between these two teams. And Brian Flores, what he's been drawing up defensively, coming after quarterbacks, we saw what he just did to CJ Stroud. That's not the best matchup for Jordan Love coming back after a couple weeks off. And then, if he's not 100% out there, definitely plays a factor. So give me the points, if anything. But I'm looking forward to a great game. Jacksonville Jaguars looking for their first one of the season now after getting whomped Monday night in Buffalo. Doesn't get any easier for this team. Traveling to Houston, who's coming off of just an awful performance against those Minnesota Vikings we were just talking about. Right now, Jacksonville is getting 6.5. Over-under sitting at 46.5. Joe Mixon not playing once again for Houston. This is another one I'm staying away from because at some point you just expect the Jags to show up and do something, right? I don't know if this is that week, but I'm not taking any part of it because it could continue. Like, is this where you're like, okay, this is the time where you back Jacksonville, but then they go out and CJ Stroud beats them by 30 points. Like, I don't feel comfortable putting my money anywhere near this Jacksonville Jaguars team right now, but they're so desperate to go out there and do anything. It's like the Bengals. It's like you don't want to fade that team because they're just so desperate right now. It's tough.
On board 100%. I am staying far away from this one. Again, if I had to pick a side, talk 6 is that key number, 6.5 here. I think the play, if you play here, is Jacksonville. And to your point, like, do you want to put your money? I don't want to put my money in somebody's hands who is only playing at best one half of football right now. And the Jags can't seem to figure it out offensively. But when you look back at it, like week 1, they should have beat the Dolphins with Tua healthy. So a fully healthy Dolphins squad, week 1, they should have won that game. They copped it away because they didn't do shit in the second half. They were with the Browns. They lost to the Browns, but not by much. I think it was a 1-possession game. They still had a chance in the end. They just, again, played only one half of football. And then last week got just dismantled by the Bills. So it's like bounce back spot for them, bounce back spot for the Texans. CJ Stroud's going through a bit of a sophomore slump right now, but like you say, like at some point, Trevor's got to pick it up. At some point, CJ Stroud's got to pick it up. Do neither of them pick it up this week? Does one? I'm far away from this one. I don't want nothing to do with it, but if I had to pick a side, I would go Jacksonville.
New Orleans Saints, Atlanta Falcons, one of the more underrated rivalries in the NFL. Saints are getting 2.5 on the road, over under sitting at 41. This one does not make the juice pack for me. I'm excited for this game, though. Divisional rivalry, 2 offenses that have showed some potential, in this first quarter of the season, 2 defenses who have shown potential. There's a lot of firepower. So I'm looking, if anything, I'm thinking maybe the over 41. That's intriguing. I could see it being a bit of a shootout. But then again, you saw what the Saints offense did last week against the Eagles. So it's tough. It's tough there. Staying away from this one. If anything, I would have to take the points, though, and then consider the over.
Yeah, and that's with the Saints. Like, last week was a flop. That's what a lot of us Saints doubters, I don't want to say I'm a Saints hater because I'm not hating on the Saints, but I've been a Saints doubter. For all of us who've doubted the Saints at the beginning of the year, we saw them put up 47 on a Carolina defense that's, was put in bad positions by that offense, and they just didn't play well. And then they put up 40-something on a Dallas Cowboys D that can't even seem to get stops until the team gets near the red zone, or they just don't get a stop. They've been bad. And then last week they finally play a good, solid defense, and they put up, what was it, 12, 13? I can't remember. Either way, they didn't. I don't think they even scored. Maybe it was 15. Either way, not much. They didn't play well. That's what I expect here. I think that Atlanta's defense is going to pose some challenges. I'm not a huge fan of this Saints team, even after the first 2 weeks. I have been a fan of this Atlanta team. I sprinkled a little bit on this one. Falcons, I got them at -2.5. That line was flirting around 3.5. It finally came back down to 2.5, and I took Falcons at -2.5. That's my play.
Los Angeles Rams going to Chicago, getting 3, over under sitting at 40.5. Rams offensive line starting to get healthy. We got those tackles back now. The interior O-line has shown some improvement over last week against San Francisco for sure, as we came back in that game. Got a huge win. Chicago's got some issues right now in their run game, their scheme offensively, as we've talked about in depth with Caleb Williams. This is an interesting game for my Rams because loser of this game will fall to 1-3. So this is a high stakes game for both these teams. Chicago's defense has played good. Rams defense has not looked great, but then again, the Bears offense hasn't been killing teams out there. So this is an interesting one. I'm a little nervous going against that Chicago defense. As far as betting goes, I don't favor either side. I don't have a strong feeling of what's going to happen in this game. I just know it's a huge game for both these teams. Do you have anything betting-wise for this one?
No, sir. If I had to, I think the Bears are the side here, but I'm passing on this one. I'm just going to try to enjoy it for what it is. It's two teams that are going to be desperate for a win. And I don't know, because you're like, do you take Eberflus and Caleb, who hasn't looked great, over Stafford and McVay?
Right.
It's tough.
And that's the one thing that's holding you back from taking Chicago, because everywhere else, all signs point Chicago. You're taking them. But then again, am I taking a rookie quarterback who hasn't looked great and Eberflus over Stafford and McVay? That's where it gets tough. And you know how much that weighs on this is that quarterback and head coach. So look forward to a great game. It'll be exciting for sure. New England Patriots getting 10.5 at San Francisco, who is extremely desperate right now. Over under 40.5 in this one as well. Is 10.5 enough to intrigue you, New England, on this one?
It was. It intrigued me, but that's all it did. I'm passing on this one. I just think there's too many variables here, especially with all of the injuries. The Patriots, they obviously go out and beat the Bengals in week 1, and then they looked good, and then they stick with and should have won that game against the Seahawks, who a lot of people are high on now that they're 3-0. They probably should have won that game too, and then they had a bad game last week. But that's what happens with this team. When this team can't just run the ball and play D, and they have to start throwing the ball with Brissett, they're fucked. So that's their winning formula. Run the ball, play defense. And when they can't do that, if they have to pass, they're toast. I'm staying away from this one. Like I said, too many variables with all the injuries. San Francisco, in this spot, I feel like they're not the play. I think New England is the play here, but I'm going to pass.
Washington Commanders coming off a huge win on Monday Night Football in Cincinnati. You saw the stardom. Jane Daniels, a couple dime throws that he made in that game, won to win it. Going to play Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals, who are getting to be a little desperate mode in Arizona all of a sudden after they had that dominant win against my Rams a couple weeks ago. Over under 49. Could see a lot of points in this one. Two exciting offenses and rather underwhelming defenses, I would say. So we could see a lot of points. I expect this to be a very exciting game. And I want to continue. Like Jane Daniels he's turned into one of those must watches to me on the weekend. Like you got to tune in to watch Jane Daniels, and Kyler Murray has been that for some time now. So this is a game I'm excited about. I don't know about, I've gone back and forth on this. If anything, I think I would have to take the Commanders with the points plus 3.5. I think that's critical. Getting 3.5 here could see a close game. Do you have any lean on this one?
No, the only trend lean that I liked is so far this year, there's been, I think it's like 10 or 11 games, it might be 11, that have been at 50 or more for the total, and the under is hit on those 9 times. So out of the 11 games, I believe, that were 50 or more is total, the unders went 9-2. This one was at 50 last night, and I looked at it and I put it down. I didn't bet it because I wasn't super confident in it because of how bad this Commanders defense is. And I'm not high on the Arizona defense, though they have played better than I thought they would. And it does seem like they are making strides towards being a formidable defense. But right now, I still don't think they're great. Commanders defense is terrible. If Jaden can keep doing what he's been doing, this game could touch 60. I was going to go under 50, but now that it's at 49, I know it's 1 point. Ooh, but I don't think I'm going to take it. I think that if I was to pick, I would be on the other side of it. I think I would take the Cardinals at -3.5, but I'm going to be passing on this one.
I will be taking Brian Robinson Jr., though. Anytime touchdown, you get that at +115 right now, and I love that. Kansas City Chiefs going to Los Angeles, looking to remain undefeated against the banged up Los Angeles Chargers. Right now, those Chargers are getting 7 points at home. Over under sitting at 42.5. Status of Justin Herbert is what makes this untouchable for me at this point. I just don't. There's way too much uncertainty of how healthy is he? Is he going to last if he goes out there and plays? Is he even going to play? Too much unknown for me to even go near this. What are you thinking in this one?
This is what I was talking about earlier when I said I was going to contradict myself because I don't like betting on quarterbacks who are banged up coming into a game, especially if they are, well, especially if they're the favorite, right? Which is, I think last week, I think it was closer to a pick 'em last week against the Steelers, but like with Jordan Love this week, I don't love him coming into it being a 3-point favorite. Here, getting 7 against the Chiefs team that has not been really that good. And I think that's the scary part about this Chiefs team is the fact that they're 3-0 and Mahomes hasn't looked Mahomes-ish or Mahomes-y, but they're still 3-0. I think they have gotten pretty lucky. They were on the right side of a call in the Bengals game. They were on the right side of a call in the Falcons game. They could be 1-2. They're 3-0. I think they've gotten lucky. But as far as spread goes,
Likely's toe.
Likely's what? Oh, yes, exactly. Yes, Likely's toe could be. They could be 0-3. They could be 0-3. Maybe in another world. So, this one to me, the side is the Chargers. I think I sprinkle them in at +7. Kansas City again. They haven't looked that great, and I think that 7's a lot here to a Chargers team who's been playing better than I anticipated. Their defense has stepped up and been playing okay. The run game has been good. I don't like the fact that their tackles are banged up. I think Slater is out. And the other tackle, the rookie who's been good so far, is questionable coming in. So I originally was a pass. I was 50-50, but hearing a lot of things. A lot of people are on the Chargers. So I'm just going to back the pros here, take the Chargers at +7, and cross my fingers.
This will be in a teaser parlay for me where I'm going to be doing an underdog teaser parlay. And I just looked, you can get you can move the under to 45.5 and get that at -171 for this game. I don't expect a ton of points because the Chiefs offense really hasn't been clicking. And the Chargers are just going to try and keep it out of Mahomes' hands, I think, with the status of Herbert.
Right.
Go ahead.
And the Chargers are a home dog here, divisional game. Divisional home dogs is something that are the trends for divisional home dogs are always in the favor of the home dog. Mahomes, as a favorite on the road traditionally hasn't been great either. Like everything, all the trends are pointing to the Chargers on this one. 7's a lot of points. I don't see, again, like what you said, I don't see this being a high scoring game. Like the odds of this touching 40 are slim, especially if you can tease that up to 45.5. And sort of on topic but off topic, our juice packs contain 6 bets. We got to give you 6. We both had one on the Eagles in that Eagles game, so I feel like we owe them one more. So we gotta come to an agreement on one more game to throw in the juice pack. But so it might be like 7 if you look at that. The under, I think. Did you pick in the Eagles Bucks game?
Yeah, I did under 42. I just threw this together. You can get the Chargers plus 10.5, tease it to 10.5, and then tease the under to 45.5. And right now you could get that for plus 136. So that's intriguing.
Ooh.
Maybe we throw that into the juice pack.
Yeah, I'd be with that. Chargers 11.5, and then
10.5.
10.5, and then we got under 45.5.
Mm-hmm.
I'm with it.
Let's get on to the Cleveland Browns, Las Vegas
Raiders.
In a desperate spot after getting absolutely annihilated at home by Andy Dalton and the Carolina Panthers last week. Devontae Adams has been ruled out. Over under 36.5. Could be some very sloppy football. Not only is Devontae out, though, Max Crosby is also out for this team. So Raiders are in injury trouble. Cleveland Browns offensive line is in injury hell right now. It just keeps getting worse and worse for that Cleveland O-line. You got to expect Watson's going to be running for his life. Are they going to be able to get the run game going? Then again, the Raiders haven't been able to run the ball at all this season. This is a very sloppy game, in my opinion. Another one, I'm going to be teasing the under, probably bump it up to 40.5, and throw that in a parlay with the Chiefs Chargers teasing. I don't have any particular feel on this game. I would expect the Browns to pull out with a win. Maybe take the Browns money line in this. I just don't see the Raiders getting a win out there without Devontae and Max Crosby, two of their leaders. Also intriguing to me, Tyler, is any prop you can get on Brock Bowers, because I expect Brock Bowers to be the main focus of this Raiders offense. I think he has to be. He's their number one target without Devontae on the field. Anytime touchdown for him is plus 200, by the way.
I want to be on the Raiders so badly now. I mean, I know that Devontae is now ruled out, but like Browns minus 2.5. The Raiders were just 2-point favorites last night. This line moved 4.5 points in the last not even 20 hours. 4.5 points it's moved in the direction of Cleveland. You're telling me that people are putting their money in the hands of Deshaun Watson right now against, I mean, I know that the Raiders defense is not, they're not the greatest defense out there, but you got Max Crosby and Wilkins going up against that banged up O-line who, oh, by the way, just lost another starter. So they're going to be one, maybe two starting offensive linemen on that O-line for the Browns. Still no Nick Chubb in Vegas. 2.5-point favorites? No, man, I was passing on this one, but I really want to be on the Raiders. So I tell you what, I'm gonna say pass for now, but I don't know. Raiders plus 2.5 at home against Deshaun Watson, and Myles Garrett's playing banged up. I don't know if everyone's heard that, but he says he's got his feet are pretty fucked up and he needs surgery, but he's just going to play through it because if he gets surgery, he's done for probably the year. But here's the thing. I think if the Browns if we're like week 8 and Garrett's still playing through this, it's week 8 and the Browns are like 2-5. If they have a bye in there, I don't know, but they're 2-5, 2-6, 3-5, 3-6, something like that. He might get surgery, right? I don't know. At some point they gotta just be like, listen, man, it's not worth it. Go get yourself right. But either way, before getting too off topic, I'm passing on this one. But Raiders plus 2.5. That line was 4.5 points in the direction of Cleveland. Also, when it comes to trends, not a spot you want to back Cleveland and Deshaun Watson. So, I don't know about that one.
Sunday Night Football. Game of the week, potentially. Buffalo Bills. Baltimore Ravens. Bills are getting 2.5 right now. Over under sitting at 46.5 to round out my juice pack this week. Give me the over in this game. I expect fireworks Sunday night. Both offenses, high flying. I'm super juiced up about this. You got 2 perennial MVP candidates at the quarterback position. I expect them to go out there and execute at a high level. I don't see either of these defenses really locking up the other offense the way both these offenses are rolling. What the Baltimore Ravens looked like last week in Dallas, and then what the Bills have been doing offensively. I knew I liked that under in that Bills-Jags game, and that really came back to bite me because Buffalo looks scary offensively right now because you just don't know what they're going to throw at you. And the Ravens got that run game going. The offensive line looked so much better last week against the Dallas Cowboys. I just love where both these offenses are at right now. Give me over 46.5.
Yeah, this
also,
is
the Bills will make my underdog parlay as well.
Which is not a bad play at all. So I know that I think both these teams have, I want to say it's the top 2 offenses in the league right now. They're 1-2. And then defensively, they're both in the top 10 as well. With the Ravens, yeah, they have that 1-2 record, and the Bills are 3-0. But they have that 1-2 record, the likely toe in the end zone against the Chiefs, and then they just blew that game against the Raiders when they were up 10 or 14, whatever it was. They're a good football team. This is a really good football team, this Baltimore team. The statistics were crazy. I heard a stat. It was like when a 1-2 team is the favorite against the 3-0 team, they have it's crazy odds in the favor of the 1-2 team. So here there's gonna be a lot of people backing this Ravens team at -2.5. One play I like that I've heard, Josh Allen, and I think the Bills haven't lost a game in more than one possession in like 44 straight games. So if you can tease them, and that's the thing, there's gonna be a ton of people teasing the Bills this week and putting them in a teaser parlay at +8.5 because they haven't lost a game by more than 8 points in 44 straight games. So that's also a play here. They're definitely going to my teaser parlay. I think they should be in everybody's teaser parlay. I do like the Ravens -2.5 here. The one thing that's going to be interesting is the Ravens have been such a good run defense. Their rush defense has been very good so far this year, and that's what the Bills are going to want to try to do right from the start, is run the ball. But Josh Allen has just been so good, and it's not like he's just hitting a couple big plays here and there. He's just down the field, chunk, 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 taking what the defense gives him, scrambles, gets yardage. He just knows what's coming. He's beating the defense every time, and he's putting the ball on the money. It's hitting the receivers right in the numbers. He's leading them well. He's just playing an unbelievable pace right now. So when they say, and I heard this on something earlier, I thought it was funny. They said the phrase for the Sunday night football games is, waiting all day for Sunday night. Like, that's kind of true for this one. Like, we're all going to be kind of itching at the bit to get this game underway. As soon as those 4:00 games are done, we're going to be like, dude, can this game fucking start? This is going to be a fun one. I will sprinkle Ravens -2.5. And now that it's in the juice pack, I think I'm going to have to go over 46.5. Is that what you said? Let's do it.
Yep. Monday Night Football. We got 2 games once again. I was talking about it last week. I was talking down on it. And then I started thinking, I was like, you know what? It's actually good that we had two Monday night games because that game in Buffalo just became unwatchable at a certain point. So to be able to fall back on that Bengals Commanders game, which ended up being a great finish, it ended up working out. So shout out to them. I was wrong. They were right. And I'm looking forward to 2 games once again this Monday night. Just get your 2 TVs set up and you're ready to rock and roll. There's not that much time where you have to really pay attention to both at the same time. That's what I found. So excited about this Monday night. Tennessee Titans getting 2.5 on the road against the Miami Dolphins. Very desperate game for both teams. Tyler Huntley making his debut for the Miami Dolphins against Will Levis, who's been struggling with turnovers. Mayo God came out with a fire commercial, but just hasn't put it together on the field quite yet this season. Over under 37 right now. I'm staying away from this one, but I am excited to see what Tyler Huntley can do in this Dolphins offense. I think it has to be an upgrade over what we saw in Skylar Thompson last week, certainly. And you've seen the abilities of Huntley, what he did in Baltimore, made the Pro Bowl one year. I know that's not the award that it used to be, the way it's given out nowadays, but he's been a quality quarterback when he's come in to fill in the shoes for Lamar. And there's some dynamic ability. Like he's a multi-dimensional quarterback out there. He can get it done in multiple ways. So I'm excited to see how he fits into this offense. Can he get the ball into these playmakers' hands? And can they get the run game going in Miami? Tennessee, desperate game. I mean, if Will Levis doesn't put it together this week, you got to start thinking, maybe is it Mason Rudolph time? So I think it's getting to be that point for Tennessee. He pulled off a huge game, huge win in Miami last year on primetime. Can he do it again?
That's a good point. I think that this is a tough one to really bet. That line has moved 1.5 since yesterday in the Dolphins' favor. So there's definitely, I think, some pro money coming in on Miami right now, which definitely makes me, just out of respect, not play this one, a pass, but I will. And I'm not putting my money in the hands of Will Levis. I'm not doing, like, I wanted to bet the Titans at +1, +2.5, especially. I would love to take the Titans here in that spot, but not the way that Will Levis has been turning the ball over. So what I will do, though, because I do believe in the Titans as a team more than I believe in Miami, I am going to throw them in the underdog parlay, but I'm not picking a side here.
All right, final game of week 4. Monday night, Seattle Seahawks getting 3.5 on the road in Detroit. The undefeated Seahawks. This is their first real, major test this season. Over under sitting at 46. Geno has been playing well this season. I'm not sure the status of Kenneth Walker this week, but I know Charbonnet got going for him last week. Detroit, I feel like they just haven't put it all together offensively this season. We've seen the run game, what it can do at times, just playing bully football on teams. I know they do have an injury with their center, so that could be a factor in this one. I don't have any certain lean on this one. I'm just excited to see, how real is this Seahawks team, because this is a real test. We've seen them get a little lucky with how the schedule is set up for them these first 3 weeks of the season. Played Bo Nix in his first start, took advantage of him. And then they beat New England, and then they beat Miami with Skylar Thompson at quarterback. So this is a real test, measuring stick game for the Seattle Seahawks. I'm excited to see what they do in this one.
Yeah, this is going to be the last and final juicy bet. I went with my gut here. I talked about it before we got on. I'm putting this in the juice pack. Give me the Lions -3.5 and under 46. book it. Here's the thing. Here's what I like on this one. The Lions since 2022 are 26-11 covering the spread in primetime games. So since Goff has been there, they've been since 2022, of course, they've been very good at primetime games. Goff is good at home in a dome, which is where they're going to be here. The Seahawks are not traditionally great covering on the road since 2020. They're just around 43%. They have been better since Geno's been there. I just think the Seahawks are a bit too banged up. The Lions are generally healthy. If Leonard Williams and Mafe are out, the Lions could try to expose the right side or the left side of that defense. Do the Lions, does their pass rush make it? That offensive line has been good. Cross has been a stud. They might take Aiden Hutchinson and put him right across from Forsyth, who hasn't been bad in pass protection. He just hasn't been great overall. Part of me is scared because the Seahawks defense has been solid, but to what you mentioned, they haven't faced a experienced, solid, successful veteran quarterback. It's just been Brissett, Mo
Set
Nix,
next, and Skylar Thompson.
Thompson.
Right.
That's what I nicknamed him, Jacoby Brisket.
I love it.
So I got to go with my gut here, right? Like, Goff has just been not Goff, and the Lions are still 2-1. They're in their loss. He threw for like 350 yards or something like that against the Bucks. They got in the red zone 7 times. Like, their offense is clicking. It's just that they're stalling. So I think this is going to be a good game, but I am going to go with my gut here. Detroit -3.5, under 46. That's the big juicy bet. Caps out our juice pack.
All right, just going through my juicers of week 4. Chris Boswell riding the Boz train, over 1.5 field goals. Eagles Bucks under 42. Bills Ravens over 46.5. Tyler, what were yours?
Denver plus 11.5. And then if you want to same game parlay that, under 44, but that's the pick here. It's plus 11.5 and under 44. Eagles -1.5. I threw out some props I really like in there too, if you want to throw those in there. And then the Lions -3.5 and under 46.
My dog parlay got the Vikings, Bucks, Saints, and Bills. All underdogs. You parlay that up, that's plus 2068. If you're like Tyler and you don't like the Bucks as much against the Eagles this week, you could get that without the Bucks in there. Just have Vikings, Saints, Bills, and that would be plus 984. So juicy odds on that underdog parlay if you just want to keep it 3 legs. And then also going to be teasing, putting together a under parlay. I'm going to be teasing that Titans, or excuse me, no, not the Titans. Going to be teasing that Denver Broncos Jets under, the Steelers Colts under, Eagles Bucks. We're going to tease that one. And then the last one is Chiefs Chargers. Going to be teasing that one to 45.5. So that's the underdog parlay. That's the big juicy bets. Threw in some props as well for you. Love Dallas Goedert this week. Love Brock Bowers this week. But that's it. That's our week 4 preview.
I want to throw together. This is a bit of a risky underdog parlay here, but I just want to see what these odds would be. All right, listen to this. If you went in an underdog moneyline parlay, if you go Vikings, Rams, Raiders, Bills, Titans, plus 48.60. That's up there. That's also
$5.
But yeah, this is a sprinkle, right? You just want to take a chance, something that happens a couple times a year. That's it. You get a little five guy money line underdog parlay plus 48.60 for that. Yeah, why not? Throw 5 in there. I almost thought about throwing the Colts on there too. I was like, I don't know that play at +2, but stick with that one though. That's a good
First
little
3
thing.
weeks of the season, the biggest underdog of the week has won outright throughout this NFL season. 3 weeks in a row. If that were to continue this week, we would see the New England Patriots win in San Francisco.
Yeah. Hey, we've already.
So,
Hey, it's not. It's is it that crazy? You
with
know,
what we've seen so far, I mean, no.
the 49ers have been a bit banged up. New England's already beat Cincinnati. They should have beat Seattle. I wouldn't put it past them.
That is it for our week 4 NFL preview. Everybody enjoy the games. It's gonna be a fun one. We got an exciting slate of afternoon football, and then you got that Bills Ravens matchup Sunday night, capped off with 2 games on Monday night. It's gonna be a fun week 4. Can't wait for it. We will see you next week with our recap of all these games. Goodbye.
Peace.
When I come to your city, I'm a new score. Broke your high score soon as I step through the door. Tryna stack my paper up like a bookstore. Money kissing each other like a rock and roll tour. When I come to your city, I'm a new score. Broke your high score soon as I step through the door. Tryna stack my paper up like a bookstore.